はい、じゃあ、ベンジャミンさん、こんにちは。お久しぶり
こんにち
です。
は。
はい。So, welcome to this YouTube channel with me, and thank you so much for joining. How do you feel?
I feel good. Thank you for having me. It's been a good time since I started, and it's been really, really positive in regards to what I've learned and how I've learned, and I feel really good about where I'm at in regards to using Japanese on a regular basis, I think. I use it.
Amazing.
Yeah, I use it every day. Not always as much as I want, but at least I've broken that barrier of being okay to be uncomfortable using Japanese and while I'm here.
Amazing. Yeah, it's the first step as a beginner. Yeah, we need to actually get used to be in the uncomfortable, like as a beginner level. And because when I started learning English also in the first was how are you? I'm fine. Like it's very actually difficult to really overcome this first phrases and the first communication. But actually I heard that it's your son is complimenting you, right? Like, oh, my dad is like really speaking Japanese, I heard. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, not only my son, but I do have some other people that I speak Japanese with, and it's this ongoing process. And of course, my son was the first one that was really good about letting me know that my words are getting better and that I'm progressing, whereas, when I first got to Japan and that was back in November, so I haven't been here very long really. It's just almost a little over 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was I knew some Japanese, but what I knew wasn't adequate, and that was what was really frustrating about living in
Mm.
Japan.
Mm.
And there had to be a change. And so this
Mm-hmm.
is the I adopted, and he noticed, within probably maybe the first 6 to 8 lessons that there was a change in what I was saying and how I was saying it. And then not too long ago, I mean, probably around lesson 20, my father-in-law even had said, and he's Japanese, he's 70, no, he's 82. So he's, pretty Japanese. And he was saying that my pronunciation is really good in Japanese. So God,
Wow.
something that was relatively poor, and I understand that now because, this, the progress of that you make to having somebody compliment you on being able to pronounce words correctly, and it's difficult. I mean, it's if you have a Western tongue, it's very difficult, and you just have to keep on practicing and practicing and practicing. And it's not 20 times, it's not 30 times. There's no given number. You can't say at 60 times I'm going to have this number, this word down. It says 32 two this. Something like that is not going to come at 20 times. It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
100 times. It's going to be 200 times. And then you're going to get, familiar with that sentence. And I think that's one thing that's really important that, when you hear somebody say,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this, you should be able to get this down in 20 times. No, just put that aside, that whole concept aside and say, you will get it in the time that it takes. You'll get it under the frequency in which you use it. You'll understand it, at some point. It's not a numbers game. It's a I used to coach soccer, and I used to tell all the kids that I used to coach, it is time on the ball, it's touches on the ball. That's how you become proficient. And I think Japanese language or any language in general, it's the same thing. It's not, you can be out there kicking a ball against the wall for an hour. You can be out there saying a word for an hour, and you
Mm.
might not get it. But there will be a point in time in that process of this constant touching and constant practicing that you will get it and it will click. I would say that to everybody that's trying to learn Japanese, anybody that's trying to learn a foreign language, no matter it English or Spanish or Japanese or Greek, whatever it happens to be. It's this amount of touches, it's the amount of time that you do it. I was told by other coaches a long time ago that if you spent 18 minutes per day, 365 days a year, you will become an expert at whatever you're going to do. It's just
Mm-hmm.
one of those, it's this frequency, you have to dedicate that time. be it playing football or be it learning a language. You have to dedicate and set aside that time so that you can do it. And I've been fortunate enough that I have trains that are over an hour, about an hour long. They're 54 minutes long to sit on, and that I can learn, and I have a space where I can learn, so that is pretty dedicated to just learning. But everybody needs to carve that out, somewhere in your day. It's you have to carve it out, and if you
Mm.
can, that's I've been happy. Yeah, I've been really happy.
Amazing. I'm glad to hear. So, by the way, like here, like if everybody listen and who not recognizing you, and I would like to actually ask your background, like how actually you started learning Japanese to even that now you're currently living in Japan. So I would like to ask the background. And also here in Japan Language Factory, as you mentioned, it's our learning structure is not traditional way of using just a grammar study or flashcard and then page of the page and page reading a lot of textbook. It's not actually those traditional learning structure. So we actually call like a non-traditional way, but it's a muscle memory base. So that's what exactly Benjamin-san said. It's a muscle memory training is about the time, and also you repeat it many times to get used to it. In the end of the day, you can actually say confidently without even thinking. So that's called muscle memory. And so you guys, like if you're a native English speaker, you're already speaking English without even thinking about grammar. That's called muscle memory. So here it's a muscle memory training, and exactly Benjamin-san recognized that it's like how you learn the sports. Also same. Of course, it's a 20 minutes or 18 minutes per day and dedicated 365 days. Of course, you have a lot of muscle memory. So I'm glad to really hear. So, by the way, so I'd like to ask you more. So, right now, you currently live in Japan. Where are you living?
So I live in a small town inside of Tokyo called Mitaka. And so it's on the Cho line. It's pretty easy to get to. It's kind of famous for the Ghibli studios.
Mm-hmm.
So the Ghibli Studio Museum's here at Inuyokashiya Park. And I live really, really close to that studio and that museum, and really close to the park. So I see people every day going from the station all the way to the park and coming back, be it on the bus or be walking or whatever. And the frequency has gone up greatly. So yeah,
Amazing.
that's where I live, and I've been super fortunate to live in a fairly large place right in that's 5 minutes from the station. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really nice. It's my wife's family owns the building, and so we live in the building in which they own. So it's quite nice.
Amazing. So before Mitaka, so what is your background? Or which state are you from, and then how you end up in Japan? And of course, I can see your family photo here. So like, how do you live in Japan? Can you a little bit explain?
Yeah. So I was originally born in Santa Barbara, California, where my father, who was born in Hiroshima, met my mom.
Oh.
So my father's family's Japanese, and so it's kind of a big tale of my great grandfather Yoichi came over on the white ships from Hiroshima to California, and then raised a family in L.A. My grandfather was born actually in L.A. and was there. He was interned during the World War II, and then
Wow.
deported back to Japan. And people didn't think there was active deportation, but there was. My grandfather was a U.S. citizen that got deported back to Japan. He came back after a long while. He came back in the '60s. Started a business in Santa Barbara. Then my father, who was actually born in Japan, came back in the '60s as well, and they met my him and my mom got together, and they met and they got married, and my father went off to Vietnam and did not make it back, which is a little sad, but that was kind of the beginning. And then from there I moved to Eastern Washington, and Washington is a totally different place than California, and
Mm-hmm.
ability to keep up or to learn Japanese was really really limited then. The
Mm-hmm.
Japanese in the Spokane area were pretty pretty sheltered at that time, and they were still working on that assimilation into U.S. culture. That was like the most important thing. It wasn't retaining Japanese culture as much as it was about uh, becoming Americans. And so my, you know, junior high, high school, went back and forth between California and Eastern Washington, and didn't learn that much Japanese until I got into
Mm.
college. I took my first course of Japanese in college, and I mean, anybody can pass first year college Japanese and learn absolutely nothing. And I think that's
Mm.
exactly what happened. I mean, yeah, I know kanji and I know this, and I can count in Japanese, but it was really, I mean, it wasn't really meaningful, and I really wanted to be able to speak more Japanese so I could talk to my
Mm.
grandparents. And it just never really happened. Then my grandparents
Mm.
pushed the concept or the idea that I should speak Japanese. They were totally happy with the idea that I was speaking English and that I
Mm.
spoke accent and that it was very, very clean. And so
Mm.
that was it was kind of a weird situation. I was raised with all these Japanese culture and with all these Japanese values, but the except for the language, the language was
Mm.
an important aspect of it.
Mm.
Life goes on, and then I go to school in Miami, come back, uh,
Mm-hmm.
Seattle, do some high tech stuff, which I think everybody does for a little while or for the rest of their lives. I was in it for just a relatively short period of time in regards to startups, and then becoming a computer operations manager and then a IT manager for a major construction company in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Then they paid me well enough that I could start my own company, and then I started my own company, and I had my own company for 25 years, basically.
Wow.
Pretty long time. So basically 25 years in Seattle, and doing some IT support, some other stuff as well, but mostly in the health industry, building clubs and fitness arena. And so I had this
Mm.
amazing ability to do whatever I wanted and to retire early. And so when I became 54, 53, 53, I retired. And so I retired, and my wife at that point in time was still working for a major aerospace company in Seattle, and they transferred her job location to Tokyo because my wife is Japanese,
Mm.
and so she transferred her job to Tokyo to be with her parents and to be closer to her family. So she'd spent the last 20 years in the U.S. And now that she wanted to come back and spend, 20 years, the last 20 years or so, maybe 30 years with her parents here in Japan. So I think that's really, really positive. So we
Mm-hmm.
moved last November. Well, as they left in July, and then that was my wife and my two boys. They left in July. I then from July to September, I finished selling our house. I did the closing on that. I closed my business in the United States, and I moved to Japan. And so, with my wife having a regular job and a steady income, and me being retired with the proceeds of selling everything that I had in Seattle, it gave me this ability to start afresh here in Tokyo. And
Wow.
going to happen actually is, which is even a little bit crazier, is that we just closed on a property in Ome, which is on the far east side of Tokyo.
Oh,
Uh,
congratulations. So you got property this year?
yeah, so
Congratulations.
which was a process. Anybody that wants to buy property, anybody that wants to dive into the whole process of having their own piece of Japan, it's very
Mm.
cool, but patience and patience and patience and patience. I can't stress that enough. I mean, it's Japan. The process is slow. It is multi-stepped. It is if you're coming from the United States, it's not the same process. It is
Mm.
not close to the same process when you're buying property, and be it a small piece or a big piece or whatever it happens to be, it's not going to be the same. And I actually have bought property here before, but it was just residential property. So I mean, I have a house in Kasai, and then we live in Mitaka, and then I just bought another property in Ome. Um, so yeah, is it possible? Absolutely. Is it easy? Absolutely not. Will you beat your head against the wall? Absolutely. But now that's done. We have the property. We're going to be closing on it. So it's the actual true closing date's the 31st, which is just right around the corner. So super happy. Super happy. We're going to be building a glamping campsite in Ome. So we're starting it out this year and inviting Westerners as well as people that live in Japan to experience the outdoors some more, and
Mm,
some of the great lessons that I had, Japanese lessons that I had, were actually about the Ome camp and stuff like that. So that was a great part about these lessons versus a lot of lessons that I've gone, is that they're so customizable. They're customizable to your lifestyle. My lifestyle is not a normal person's lifestyle in Japan. I'm starting a company here. I I'm buying property. I'm doing renovations on another property, and a lot of the sayings that I learned and a lot of the phrases that I learned were directly involved in what I needed to do to communicate with people that I was working with. So super awesome in those regards. This is the tailorability of the program. It really tailored it so that um, the stuff that I needed to be able to say and do was definitely usable during that period of time that I needed it. So even getting a haircut, I don't know if anybody's tried to get a haircut in a foreign land. In Spain, I can do it. I speak Spanish, I speak Japanese, English, but in Japan, it's a different process, and stuff like that. And to find a barber and then find a barber that will cut your hair the way you want your hair cut, it's daunting at times.
mm,
And um, using your phone to translate while you're getting your haircut doesn't work. So you have to know
mm,
certain stuff, and so that was another thing that was a really good learning point. So like that for me, I wasn't learning Japanese that wasn't useful. I was from day one, I was using phrases and learning stuff that was directly applying to my life that I'm using it right now. And so, with that said, I have to say that, it's so much easier to learn something when you're applying it in a meaningful way every day.
amazing. Thank you so much. So I'm very, curious. So you grew up in the States, but also your roots is J Japan. Your father is Japanese, and then you knew Japan. I'm sure when you're a child, you visited Japan several times, and then now it's like after so many years, after life in the States, university, college, and everything, and you had a business. Now it's like a really moving to Japan, and now you got the proper congratulation. So I'd like to know, you have the roots of Japanese, and but also you 100% grow up in the States, and then you feel like you're Japanese or you feel like you're American, and how do you feel this actually like the feeling? Because we have the student, there are so many like here it's written 5,000, so some people actually like 100% white American to African American to European people, the Spanish background or some background, and then of course the half Japanese, quarter Japanese. And then what do you think about yourself, like identity?
That's interesting. That's a really interesting question because when I was in America, identity was everybody is identified. Oh, you're Japanese American, you're
Yeah.
African American, you're white American, whatever it happens to be. And so a lot of people just looked at me and they didn't know what to think most of the time. They didn't think that I was Japanese at all. They thought I was Hispanic or I was something else, which is okay, it doesn't bother me, and it was kind of fun at times because I could mess with people. But the thing about the difference between here in Japan, you know, um, the thing that changed a lot is that a lot of people thought of me as being Japanese. They looked at
Mm,
me, they said, "You're Japanese," and stuff
mm,
like that. Which is the first time I'd been recognized. But I don't feel as if I'm Japanese, because I still feel like a very much of an outsider because of my language skills. And so
mm,
I would go to IKEA or I'd go somewhere else and I'd be sumimasen, and people would be like, they would look at me and they wouldn't understand why I couldn't speak Japanese.
mm,
So as there are foreigners here that look like foreigners and they get discriminated against, as everybody gets discriminated against everywhere in the world. there's also this discrimination against people that look Japanese that don't speak Japanese. It's just like,
Mm.
and then you're kind of marked into that automatically. They think first, oh, you must be a really stupid person because you can't even speak. Yeah, you can't speak, and then you have to, American, and so you have to tell the people that you're American, and then they'll be like, oh, so discrimination, being a foreigner, you're always going to feel. I think everybody's always going to feel that they don't fit in. Even a person that looks Japanese, has a Japanese last name. I have a Japanese middle name, so I can go by my middle name and my last name. I can be totally Japanese. I can immerse
Mm.
into it culture, and still you still like feel like a foreigner. So I would
Mm.
help people put that aside. No matter where you're at in this world, no matter what language you speak, no matter what you're going to do, if you're not a native, you're a foreigner. Accept it. Just
Mm.
out, and accept it, and wear it with pride. Because not only are you a foreigner that's learning a language inside of a country that might be very, very singular in their thoughts in regards to foreigners, you're trying. You're gone outside of your comfort zone. You're living in a world that is not rainbows, butterflies, and unicorns. That's gone. You're in a world that you wake up, you struggle, you figure it out, and you proceed. And you do it until it becomes easy. And I think that for people that move to Japan, or people that are Japanese that are moving to America, or people that are moving to a different country, just recognize that. I mean, whatever you see on YouTube and whatever you see those YouTube people talk, they're Japanese English teachers. 99% of all those people that are on YouTube, they're like, oh, we're spending the day and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. They don't tell you the first 5 years of their lives they were Japanese English teachers that were struggling in Japan or struggling in Spain or struggling somewhere, learning the language, becoming familiarized with customs, and then going for it. So it's okay to make mistakes. I would say that I feel like a foreigner still. I carry a visa with me. I have all this other stuff. I'm a foreigner until I get my permanent residency, and that should be in about 6 months. I have my residency card now, but it's just the first one for a year. Um, but all that's okay. I would tell all the people that are taking classes, if you move to Japan and you're going to live a Japanese lifestyle, you're going to mess up a lot. And you're going to be really lonely for the first 6 months.
Mm.
Even if you're doing it with your family. I have one boy with me. The other boy's in Spain right now. I have my wife. I have my wife's family. I have friends that are here. There's going to be days that you potentially won't talk to anybody, and it is 100% your fault that you're not talking to people. It's just because you don't feel comfortable. So as soon as you can get over that aspect of not feeling comfortable, then it'll be better for you. Also, you're going to be super tired. You're going to be mentally tired for 6 months. Anytime that you come to a new country, and when I went to Spain and stuff like that, and Mexico and South America, I was always tired because I was translating everything in my head, and then I was going from English to Spanish to, and then from Spanish to English to understanding. And just accept it. Accept that it's tiring and frustrating, and just have a good vent. Find something that
Mm.
you can do, that you can, at the end of the day, if you need to just let go, relax. I worked out. I worked out every day because I needed to get rid of this angst. And so for the first 4 months, I worked out every day. I went to the gym and I worked out every day, and I put on my headphones and I listened to, angry rock music for 10 minutes, and I felt better. And so I think that people don't tell you that. I'm going to be brutally honest, people don't tell you the amount of frustration you're going to go through.
Mm.
You're going to go through so much frustration. You're going to be pissed off because you got your college degree, you started a business,
Mm.
you didn't start a business, or you're a high earner or something,
Mm.
and people are going to treat you like you're a small child because of your language skills.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
accept it. Yeah, I would just say, just accept it. It's going to be that way for a little bit, and then you're going to get past it.
Mm.
Um, I mean, yeah, it's just, I think everywhere in the world you're going to feel that same way. And it's not, I think that this is really important for people to understand. It's not that people are treating you like a small child.
Mm.
It's that they're uncomfortable and you're uncomfortable, and your perception is that you're being treated as a small child versus being a small child.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I totally understand this part. So I really actually want to share my experience too because it's exactly same. So and also I have a half child, so my daughter is a half Greek and half Japanese. So maybe she's gonna be through the same way, like the identity in Europe to identity in Japan or other countries is gonna be different. And then I think it's a what is the point of learning different language. It's not about academic things. So here, especially in Japan Language Factory, we don't need to show like, oh, you're so smart, you speak Japanese, you understand Japanese. It's not that actually academic degree. It's about the communication skill, how much you can, present yourself. Of course, if you don't have a language skill, you feel like you're a child. You cannot express so much. Even if you have an amazing background in the States, if I actually come here in Europe, like I had a business in Japan, in Tokyo, but it's now I'm living in Europe, people think, oh, you're Chinese. I'm nothing. There's no even recognize Japan. Even doesn't recognize like what is the differences between China and Japan? It's the same face, like this, like but the first 2 3 years I've been through those hard time. Like people don't recognize my country. People doesn't actually think that, oh, you do massage, right? Like the Japanese massage, like it's Japan is like a massage country. Or like Japan, it becomes just a sushi country. Nothing else. Like it's very difficult to express who you are when you don't have language skill, which is communication skills. So what I wanted to tell you is this is the reason like we don't have time to start from hiragana, katakana, kanji. You want to express yourself, and then now what we can do is not about hiragana, katakana, kanji exercise. You need to know how to express. And also the fit in the culture, or you feel like isolated, like you feel like, for example, me myself is as a Japanese and coming to Europe, it's just a Asian face, nothing else. It's not about even Japan or Korea or Chinese or Philippines. Some people think it's I'm Filipino. Yesterday also like a waiter said it, are you from Philippines? I said no, actually, and I need to be a representative Asia, you know. So what I felt is, first of all, you can stay in the same country. Like I could stay in Japan, perfect life. But then it's what in 2024, it's a globalization, and you have so much chance to get out from your country, get out from your comfort zone, and discover the new world. But discovering a new world can be very exciting. It's fun to see the new world, but also hard because it's you can be nothing if you don't speak the language. So
Yeah.
like a lot of American people feel like this, you have so much honor, you had a business and everything. Get out from the States, you become like a nothing
Yeah.
because you just don't speak Japanese or something. So that's why I think I always ask, okay, because I meet a lot of foreigners, of course, students. Yeah, the living in Japan is so hard. People don't recognize me. People have, totally different culture, different mindset. It's hard. But I always ask, so then you want to go back to the States and you don't need to discover the world. Or you stay like, Japan, still you can improve yourself, the language, you can discover something new. So you can't take both, like isolated the same country, but it's exciting about Japan. You need to learn the Japanese, otherwise it's just hard. Or you can enjoy yourself after learning. So I think it's always, I have these two questions because it's living in the different country, it's always hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, another thing, right? The big challenges in Japan is buying a car and buying different things and stuff like that. And so, there's a lot of great vehicles out there. And so we kind of, yeah, it was just, they wanted to know if we wanted to buy it. And it's, yeah, we didn't know what the price was. They didn't know the price was. And so it was, again, it's very Japan, right? It can be very difficult in regards to figuring out small things. And one of the small things that was very difficult to figure out, and it's not just buying a car, right? And it's not just having the money. It's not about having the funds. It's about, going
Mm,
through the You have to have money. You have to have a place to park it. You have to have a honko. You have to have a bank account in Japan, right? So, and then there's, it's just like yeah, there's a process, and you can't have a bank account in Japan until you've lived here for 6 months now. So now they put a timestamp on it. So there's the process. Know that your life is going to be difficult no matter what. They don't allow a lot of things, even though they should. They're just like, sorry, you haven't been here for 6 months. You're not a Japanese citizen, so you can't have a bank account until. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And so now we're in the process of looking at different vehicles and cars, and we're looking at everything from like the Tiguan R's to the Audi R or the Audi Q3s. We've been looking at those, and so we just don't know where we're going to land in cars and stuff like that. And we saw one that was pretty cool, and
Mm-hmm.
it's only 3 years old. It had like very little miles on it, and so we inquired about what it was going to be, and they didn't know what the price was. And yeah,
Mm.
it came back a little bit higher than I want to pay. Not
Mm.
so. It's like I can buy a brand new car for that price. So it didn't. I mean, it is what it is. So it was. I mean, it's up there with a brand new Q4. So
Mm-hmm. Amazing. I love Audi, by the way.
this one,
Amazing.
we were looking at a Tiguan R series, R type, that was a special one that was brought in, and it had every option on it. And one of the things it had was all the driving feature options. So it could read certain signs in Japan. It had road lane assist, all those things. And as somebody coming from America learning to drive in Japan, although I have my Japanese driver's license, it's
Mm.
totally different rules, right? And the things that are scary are like right hand turns, not left hand turns, and stuff like there's just different things. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, as an older driver, I want to get a car that has every safety option, like stop,
Mm.
there, there's that, and then there's the whole bicycle pedestrian issue in Japan, which is just nuts, where people are just boop, they just don't even stop. They don't even look. They just don't.
Mm.
I mean, the only country in the world that I've been in so far that people don't look to make sure they don't get hit by something. No, just so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the culture differences, plus of course the language is different. It's a lot of actual difficulty for sure. But then it's, they talking about learning language. Of course, we wish we could learn Japanese so quickly if the language is so easy and it was a very easy process, then its language itself is hard. So Benjamin-san, you mentioned that you have tried before. And so before visiting Japan Language Factory, what was actually common learning material that you used?
Well, I took Japanese in college, and so I did the traditional book work, Japanese structure, and stuff like that, which I'm trying to think. I would say that it is not the best way of learning to speak a language. It's really good if you want to learn kanji. I mean, it's awesome if you want to learn kanji and hiragana and katakana. Um, but you will build walls like I've built walls. Where do you use conjoiners? Where do you don't use conjoiners? What conjoiner do you use? What you get stuck with all these, wa, ga, na, no, eto. What do you use, right? And so you get stuck on that aspect, and that stops you from speaking Japanese because you're like, oh, I don't know this small character or this small word like wa. Am I going to call it, Nihongo ga? Oh, no, Nihongo wa. You do this stupid thing in your head and you never progress, forget about it, and just forget about that and just use the words, and then you'll learn your conjoiners and stuff like that. So there's stuff like that. So traditional Japanese structure, they will really emphasize that you use the right conjoiners so that so that it flows well or whatever it happens to be.
Mm.
So the traditional way. So I did that. I did Rosetta Stone, and Rosetta Stone is really positive about building up uh, maybe your vocabulary.
Mm.
What did I give it? I would
Is it
give
so
Rosetta.
much? I've never done Rosetta Stone, but a lot of people use it. It's mostly flashcard style, a lot of word basis.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
pictures and this or that and that.
Mm.
And Hana, boom, they put up a flower. Oh, no, it's a nose. Sorry. Uh, stuff like that, right? And so, um, and again, things like that are not going to make you a better Japanese speaker. If you know the fact that there are certain words that could be multiple things, and it's not gonna make you better at anything. And in regards to speaking the language, so I've done Risota. I've even looked at Duolingo. I've looked at a lot of different languages and a lot of different apps.
Mm.
And unless they have a meaning in your life, unless you are doing it because you want to progress in the language that you're speaking, unless you're doing it in a meaningful way, it is useless. I mean, so much other things in life, like you can do stuff all day long, and if you're not doing it in a meaningful way, then why are you doing it? And I think that learning Japanese, you have to have meaning and reason. And I'm an excellent example of that. I spent thousands and thousands of dollars on different apps and software and college classes to learn Japanese, but I was in America and I really didn't have a real reason to learn it. I mean, yeah, it was kind of nice and maybe it would help in certain situations, but probably not. I mean, in reality, it doesn't. I mean, if you live in Japan, of course, it makes a big difference. I mean, you're here. And maybe if you're getting ready to move here and you have the forethought and you have the ability to take time out of your life to learn a foreign language before you go to that country, that's awesome. That's awesome. That wasn't my reality. I mean, my reality is that I was running a business and I was busy and, it wasn't until I needed to do something that my priorities changed, and I needed to learn Japanese. And because I needed to learn Japanese, um, just to survive and to communicate and to keep and this is really important, to keep in a healthy mental state. Okay. People don't realize how mentally frustrating and taxing. And I mean, I'm 53 years old. I mean, I'm really good about keeping stuff in and bottling it up and not talking about stuff. So, but if I'm telling you that you need to do this for your emotional mental state, it's true because I don't care how tough you are. If you can't communicate, it is crazy. And
Mm.
you will lose it. You'll be like Tom Hanks on the abandoned island talking to a tennis ball or talking to a volleyball. You'll be, just going nuts. So it's for your mental state. Learning a language that you in the country that you're in is going to preserve your sensibilities.
Mm.
And there's been times. I mean, I'll be honest. There's been times where it's been so frustrating. Living in Japan that it's just like if this doesn't go right, I'm heading home. I'm going back to the United States. So I mean, it's not that those thoughts don't cross your mind, but now that I've completed the first stage and stuff like that, I have a level of comfortability. I have an outlet. I have a level of comfort. Yeah, I'm not going to speak perfectly. That's fine, and I accept that. And but at least that level of frustration that I had going into this has decreased 70%. Sure, it's still there. And there's certain Japanese people that are just going to annoy the hell out of you. Just like everywhere else in the world, they're just going to be like,
Mm.
what, what? They have a very unflexible mind and an inflexible ear. And so it's going to be difficult to communicate with those people. But that is not the rule. That
Mm.
is the exception for the people that
Mm.
you meet.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, so the people actually learn Japanese, and then, exactly the Benjamin San said that we need to actually decide, because learning kanji, learning be able to speak Japanese is totally different things. And so the college course and all these flashcard, it's more basically knowledge based. So it can, like, you can actually uh take a knowledge of the like shower of knowledge, like the 1,000 kanji, 2,000 kanji, 2,000 words, 3,000 particle, and those things. So then it's in the end of the day, you feel like you can't really use to say something like meaningful things. And so versus this like learning and how to speak, which is more training based, which is muscle memory, is you really just can be able to say, not just the 1,000 knowledge you need to pick up. So those are actually differences you really experience with us. But Japan Language Factory, how was actually the training that you actually experienced by yourself? Because a lot of people say, I'm working, I have a children, and
Yeah.
learning Japanese is so hard. I don't have time. I think a lot of people say I don't have time, and I say it's like a playing basketball. So you have to make a time to play the basketball. There's nothing. It's you can be a player without any playing, but that doesn't mean that you need to watch the basketball game like flashcard, like watching player 1 million times. That's also not necessary. So it's that you need to train for sure, but you don't need to, 5-6 hours per day training. So how did you manage?
So the way I really managed was that the lessons that I had and the words that I learned were words that I needed to use on a daily basis. They were stuff, so when I first had my first session, and even before my first session, what is my goal? What is your goal of learning Japanese? I want to be able to do these things. I want to, be it if you're a parent that's going to be staying at home in Japan, let's say that's where you're going to be. Maybe you want to be able to communicate with schools. Maybe you want to be able to communicate with teachers. Maybe you want to be able to communicate with the grocery store people. I would say focus your Japanese language on that, learn those things. For me, it was about, my sons, my family. So everything that I learned was about stuff that I needed to know. And then once you get that down, then you can go into other conversations and other things that you maybe are just add on. How do you talk to parents at the soccer game? That's a good question. I don't know, and until I started taking Japanese lessons. So I would say make whatever you're doing, make whatever you want to learn exactly what you need to learn. So instead of learning watashi wa, which you'll never freaking use, no one says watashi wa. It's very few times are you going to say that. Everybody knows, and once you learn that, everybody realizes that you're you're the person. It's going to be you. You don't have to say that. You don't have to say bokumo, me too, or watashi wa.
Mm-hmm.
It's assumed. Once you learn certain things, and then the words that you learn, like, what did you do recently? Oh, that's a good question. Or how was your weekend? Or, my son is failing in class. How can we fix this? Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just focus your language learning around what you do. Focus your language learning around what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Don't focus your language around, you don't need to know every freaking color. Maybe you need to know colors, but you don't need to know them all. You don't need to know the specific counter for, puffer fish. You're not going to ever use it. It's just like one of those things that you're just not, one, two, you're going to, maybe a bowl of rice or this or that. You might want to know those things or drinks, if you want to go out drinking, that's fine. Learn the things that are going to make your life easy. And when you're in the Japanese language school, Japanese language factory, have your teacher or your instructor specifically teach you things that are going to make your life easy. Say, hey, I'm going to go out with some friends and some Japanese, a mixed group of Japanese American friends, and I want to be able to communicate with everybody, and that's going to happen in 2 weeks. Can you give me the phrases so that I can talk to everybody in the group? That's meaningful, right? That's a meaningful process in which is going to take you from being super isolated to being super, injected into a Japanese culture. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I would say. That's what helped me. That's what made me successful at so far in this, and it made me want to keep on learning. How do you find the way? It's easy. Anybody that has a cell phone knows that they can spend 20 minutes looking at stupid stuff every day on your cell phone. It's there's always some way. Oh, did you see this video? It's super dumb. So people can't say they don't have 20 minutes. Everybody has 20 minutes. And that's the thing about it is everybody has 20 minutes. This is what are you willing to give up so that you have that 20 minutes and for the lesson. And be it my wife is super busy. She works for a big aerospace company here in Japan that was in Seattle, where she was at originally, and she keeps U.S. and Japanese hours. I keep U.S. and Japanese hours. I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't go to bed till 11 o'clock at night, and it's just so that I have business that I still do in America. I have business that I'm doing in Japan, and I have a son in Spain. Doing going to school there and doing football in Spain. And so I have to keep three things. And if I can keep three things and going with everything else that's going on, and I can cut out 20 minutes a day for Japanese, it's just about, do you want to do it or not? Do you want to be sitting in your home watching American YouTube through a VPN tunnel, or do you want to?
It's so funny. It's so funny if you say, because people doing it. And
Yeah,
that's why it's so funny.
yeah. Or do you want to be part of it? I mean, I was very unfortunate today. I got locked out of the house. I forgot my keys inside. My wife was still inside when I left. I had to go to Kasai to go do some work on my house in Kasai.
Mm.
And I'm coming back and I have a backpack full of stuff and this and that. And I'm like, I don't have my keys. What am I gonna do? Well, am I gonna go to Tokyo Station and get my keys from my wife? And then no, I'm not gonna do that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my backpack at the house, and then I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna walk around. And I'm gonna
Mm.
walk around, and I'm gonna go do this, I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna interact with people. And I did it for 3 hours, and stuff like that. And did I get things done that I needed to get done? Yeah. Did I eat lunch? Yeah. Did I get a massage? Yeah. But the thing about it is, if I didn't have any language skills, if I didn't learn the things that I didn't need to do, if I just sat in front of the couch for 6 months here in Japan, watching American YouTube and American this and American that, it wouldn't have helped. Now, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that I would say don't watch Japanese TV or anime in the first couple of months. I know you don't want to, but you might end up with some really weird phrases, or you might end up
You speak like I will kill you or something.
you'll you'll be or something. Oh, you'll be like, calling everybody baka, 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 baka. You're like, you can't call everybody stupid. This is not going to work for you. It's
Yeah.
just, get out there and listen to, talk to people or listen to people. Go to the station and sit at Starbucks and listen to people order something that's real. It's like, oh, I would really like to be able to order a latte. Okay, so sumimasen. And just learn and stuff like that, or just listen to the way it is, and
Mm.
will take you a while to find out the word breaks. And
Mm.
and that's the thing, when you first come to Japan, it sounds like there's no word breaks, there's no sentence breaks, there's no nothing. It's just like, but and you're just like, I have no idea where that started and ended and stuff like that. But then it's just that hearing it. And if you do it on TV, you miss out on a lot. You just really miss out on, not only fluctuation, but how loud, how loud do you need to be and stuff like that. On TV, you never know, and stuff like that, or a YouTube video, you never know how loud you're supposed to be. And
Mm.
then end up, if you do that on TV or just base your education on TV, what's going to happen is you're going to just watch American TV or European TV or something like that, and
Mm.
you're not going to watch the Japanese TV. So
Mm.
say, just get out. Don't
Yeah.
don't get on you know, on TV and stuff like that. Go out, and if you want to listen to music, go out and listen to music. Go to a concert. Go to
Mm.
real. Have that ability to say, "Wow, that was really awesome." Instead of just sitting on your couch, vegetating, eating, and getting fat. It's never good.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's a what you said exactly. It's about freedom. Like it's like if you guys like live in the States, let's say, if you think you will never be get out from the States, it's kind of scary, like, but it's only speaking English, only know American culture means like this. It's difficult to get out and find a new person, new friends, or new property or new job. So it's like I feel like I have a more freedom. By understanding Japanese, I can always go back to Japan, which is very easiest things I can do. But it's getting out. I can speak English. I can do the business in English. I can talk Greek, so I can live in Greece. I can make a friends. I can actually meet neighbors, for example. So I think it's the territory that you had, the one country, one city, or even some people never get out from the one state for sure. But then you have like a ability to even explore Japan and meeting people. And so you have actual freedom because the Earth is big. You're never going to be able to meet 8 billion people. At least you have an extra 100 million Japanese people, and also including like a lot of things, business or a culture and the things. It's just you have a more freedom to enjoy. But to enjoy is a positive way. Some people take it negative, which is hard to live in Japan or Japanese culture. But I think what Benjamin-san explained is about more freedom and independency, and to get around by yourself without even rely on Google Translate or VPN, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, Google Translate is a great tool. I mean, I'm
Mm,
never gonna say it's not, but
mm.
it's very limited. And I don't know if anybody's ever used it in a foreign country. You're gonna be sitting there saying the same phrase 12 times to make sure you get the right one. And sometimes, sometimes there's spotty connection or whatever happens to be. And I mean, I talk to my contractors,
Mm,
and there is some small thing that I might not understand, and then they
mm,
translate it and stuff like that. But I'll tell you what, those situations become less and less and less the more that you explore and the more that you stretch your ability to be uncomfortable.
mm,
And I think, and I really want to let people realize that, it's just that be it in Japan, sure, you're going to be super uncomfortable. But don't you want to have that bowl of cold noodles? Yeah, and how are you going to get it? I mean, you're not going to get it by going to McDonald's. I guarantee you that. You just aren't. You have to be a little uncomfortable. You're going to have to go into that shop that has that new signboard. And in the springtime right now, the all new signboards are coming up. It's cold noodle this, it's cold noodle that. And
mm.
you're going to have to say, sumimasen. And you might have to point to what you want. It's 100% okay, and then they will help you with it. If you want something special or you see something that's really good and you're using your phone and you're going up and down and up and down and up and down trying to figure out the words on the menu, yeah, that sucks. So learn what you want, and even maybe go in there ahead of time knowing what you want,
Mm-hmm.
and then just say what you want. Do you want to have soba? Cold soba. If you want to have this or you want to have that, just learn those two words before you go in, and just say you would like this, and then they'll be more than happy to work with you the rest of the way. I mean,
Mm,
they're people in Japan in the service industry are super in the service industry for a reason. They will help you. Um, but yeah, it's like I said, it's don't be afraid to make big mistakes,
mm.
and yeah, I've had some big mistakes on food that I've ordered. Like, oh my gosh, that is totally the wrong thing. I did not want that. So it's an experience, okay, you know, but it's good. Like I said, like there's nothing negative about learning Japanese. There's nothing
Mm,
negative about wanting to experience something new. Just realize that as with everything else, it's going to be uncomfortable and then you're going to be fine. It's one of those
mm-hmm.
things. And to be honest, the right teacher, the right reason that you're doing it, and if you have a clear and precise goal after every lesson, you are going to succeed. And I say that because I wasn't getting my haircut for the first 4 months here, and my hair looked terrible. And we worked on doing, haircut stuff so I could go get a decent haircut. So, I could say, Shashin, whatever happens to be, I have a picture. Please look at my picture. This is what I'd like. And and I can do that now. I can say, hey, I'd like to have this haircut, and no, or if it's going really wrong and you want to do that, and it's going wrong, you can say sumimasen, so, and tell them that you need it shorter, or you don't need hairspray, or you don't need this, or you don't. But I would say make every lesson something you're going to use. Have it actually directed, like say, I'm gonna go. And it could just be one phrase. Say, I'm going to go to the grocery store and um, I need to pick up pork shoulder. So I need to know those words. Can you please help me with it? And it could be the last phrase of the day. And your instructor is going to say, "Oh yeah, this is how you say it." And then they'll type it out, and you'll have it on the Word document as well. And there'll be a voice mail of it and stuff like that. And it's going to work out fine. So yeah, so just like I wanted to buy a camera from Map Camera here in Japan, and they wanted those little small kanji, those little small print on top of your regular. So let's say, like my last name is Nakashima. It's Naka, which is center, and Shimo under, right? Nakashimo. And
Mm,
so I can write the kanji for it, but then they want those little words that to on top, and I
mm,
didn't know how to put those little words on top you know, Yui-san, I said, I'm super frustrated. I want to buy this camera. I asked Yui-san how, what the possibility is if she could help me with this. And then she said, sure. And this is how you do it. And then she printed it out, and then I was able to cut and paste it into the form because it was an online form. And I was able to buy what I wanted to buy. And so whatever you're doing, and I think this is really key. Your instructors, be it Yui-san or anybody else that's in there, they're there to help you. They're not there just to teach Japanese. They're there to help you. And, utilize that. I mean, if they were just Japanese instructors, you can get a Japanese instructor here that's not going to teach you anything. But if you get a Japanese instructor that's saying, oh, yeah, they're taking personal stock and inventory of your life, and they're trying to help you make your life better. Um,
mm,
you know, that's where paying the extra money is worth it.
mm.
I'll be honest with you. That's the value in this course. The value is not that you're going to learn Japanese. There's 1,000 ways to learn Japanese,
Yeah.
and there's cheaper. I'm sure there's more expensive. But the thing about it is that what this course offers is that you have an instructor that is taking inventory of your life and helping you. And those points, like helping you buy a camera lens or a camera or something that you want, or helping you get a ticket to go to Fukushima or wherever you want to go, they will help you through that process.
Mm.
And that
Amazing.
that is critical. That is a winning point. The winning point isn't you're doing 2 hours a week or 3 hours a week or 4 hours a week. The winning point is that you have somebody that's equally invested in your success. And that is worth a lot of money.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That's exactly the progress in your life, progress in living Japan. It's exactly what you said. Because I have seen, oh, I'm learning Japanese, I'm learning Chinese, I'm learning Spanish, I'm learning something. So learning itself is everybody can do even by themselves with a textbook, but by learning what you can do today. Like, did you make some Spanish friends this year? Or did you really went to the Spanish speaking country and do something? That's actually the progress that you want to make in your life, not just by using Duolingo, but you really don't do anything with this knowledge. So I really actually appreciate Benjamin son, that you actually made a lots of progress in your life after getting out from the States, a new life in Japan. And now you're gonna have a new car for sure. You have a property, so which means in this property you're gonna build something, right? You're gonna use it something, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And we're
Amazing.
we're building a big glamping camp actually. It's
Wow.
yeah. So we ordered the tents. We have all that going on. So in Ome in the fall, we hope to be opening, and yeah. So it's a big it's totally yeah. It's the new project. It's something that I've been wanting to do, and first I don't know, probably half the season, half the lessons were about construction and the Ome Campu. So, when people ask, what are you going to be doing or what's going on, then you can say, you know, and one of my hardest phrases that I learned was Tsutsuri chu chu desu. And,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so, only kampu, Tsutsuri chu
Mm-hmm.
chu desu. So
Amazing. Setsuritsu. That's very difficult pronunciation, right? Setsuritsu. Yeah.
so there's lots of things, and it gave you, and once you can tell somebody that you're doing something, it gives you a sense of purpose, and then you learn more.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that wouldn't have happened if I didn't have an instructor that was not taking the time, taking the effort to uh, not only get to know me, but to get to know, what really was important to me, and then helping me succeed in those areas. So, yeah, like I said, I've had lots of instructors and I've had lots of classes, and the only way that you truly succeed, and the only way that you can truly, value the Japanese learning language factory in regards to what they do is by knowing that they are helping their partners in your education and their partners in your life in regards to helping you get the things that you want done. If you have questions, if you don't know how to say something, if you need to do something, if you need to find a doctor, if you need to say, just do some really basic things like, how do you greet your doctor? How do you say this hurts? Or how do you say I'm not feeling well? And beyond saying, somebody says Genki desu ka, and you say, Mao Mao, beyond that aspect, actually, oh, my arm hurts and this isn't normal. If you needed to know how to say that, your instructor's there to help you. That's what's really important.
Thank you so much, Benjamin-san. So lastly, I would like to request, so you have announced a new life. It's definitely, you said it's 50 years old, but you're gonna have a much actually life in Japan. I would like to hear your plan. You had a business in the States and everything it's moving to Japan. So, now also you finished a master course level 1 with us, and now you have a level 2. So I would like to hear what is actually the next 10 years of your life? What are you gonna do in Japan?
10 years. So,
Mm.
um, so 7 years ago, I actually started a company in Japan, and my company is a investment company in regards to real estate investment. And so for the last 7 years, I've been buying commercial and residential property in Japan. For
Mm-hmm.
so
Especially
I have
now Japanese yen get weak. Is it like a more good advantage? What do you
It
think?
helps. It
Mm-hmm.
helps and stuff like that. Definitely. I mean, I was fortunate enough that my in-laws were actually involved in real estate, and so I was able to get onto that. So in the next 10 years, we're going to be increasing our real estate portfolio. So that's kind of a fun thing. I just did buy a property in Ome, which is about 2 acres, 2.5 acres of land, and it's agricultural
Mm-hmm.
land and mixed
Wow.
use. It's right on the Tamagawa, so it's the Tama River in Ome. We
Mm-hmm.
have actually river access, and we own the land all the way to the river. And we're going to be building a glamping site. One of the first few. Hopefully, we get four of them. Is what we want. This is our first one, and it's going to be in 2 phases. Our first phase is which is proof of concept. We'll be putting up 5 big tents, safari style tents. One of them is 2 stories. One has a loft in it, so that they all have air conditioning. The other ones are single ones and stuff like that. And the idea is that we're building a base camp. We want to have people that play hard and relax well is the slogan to our company, and
Amazing.
that's going to be going on for the next 10 years. That's my goal is to develop a hospitality business here in Japan that is based on taking people out of the city, out of the cement jungle that we live in every day, and moving them to a natural, more holistic place where they can just relax, recharge, get back to nature, play in the river, have kids throw rocks, have dogs run and bark as normal dogs should do. All those things are the things that we want to accomplish. Is that sitting around a bonfire, having a beer, having soda pop, having a healthy way of interacting with other people. Um,
Amazing.
yeah, that's the goal for the next 10 years.
Amazing. So this 10 years, how much do you imagine yourself like speaking Japanese? Like which level do you expect?
Well, I know that even if I do Japanese for 10 years, I won't be fluent. And I talked to my wife about this. My wife is I would say fluid English Japanese. She got her master's degree in Seattle.
Mm,
She works for a very successful company, and she uses both English and Japanese. She writes, she reads, she can do it right in her head, the whole thing. I mean, fluent. She doesn't have her Japanese accent is very weak. Her English accent's or American accent's pretty decent. So she doesn't have any problems, and she's traveled with her company all over the world and with the VPs and presidents to do translation and to work on projects. She's not a translator; she's a project manager, and so she works on some very big projects and successful. And so I know that I won't be as fluent as her, but if I'm really close, I'll be really really happy. The
That's
fluidity,
amazing.
really really understanding that you will never sound like a native, no matter what country you're in, unless you were
Mm,
born with that language.
mm.
I'm really blessed with people telling me that I sound like I live in Tokyo and stuff like that. I grew up in Tokyo. I have a very good accent for Tokyo and stuff like that. And so I'm really happy with those ideas. But I have people say, "Oh, I'm so surprised. I thought you were Japanese because you don't have an accent." And I said, "Thank you. I don't know if that's true or not, but thank you very much." But I realize that I'll have limitations and throughout my whole life, and I'm okay with that. And I think that people need to understand that is you're never gonna say, like when I speak Spanish, my Spanish is pretty good, and do I sound like I'm from San Cugat? No, I do not sound like I'm from San Cugat. But do I sound like I'm from, someplace in Mexico? No, I don't sound like I'm someplace in Mexico. But I speak Spanish. I mean, and it's okay. They understand me. I understand them. It goes well. But
Mm-hmm.
Japanese is gonna be the same way. I'm gonna have some people are gonna look at me and they're gonna turn their head. They're gonna go, what? And some people, yeah, nani desu ka? And they'll be doing that whole thing to me, and I'll be like, gomenasai, and I'll probably walk away, and I'll find
Mm,
somebody that, that understands what I'm saying, and I'm okay with that. It's totally okay. Everybody has to be okay with the level of their proficiency. As long as you're working on making yourself more proficient every day, or every week, let's say, depending on how your mental state is, you should just take it and let it roll. I mean, as an American, do I ever understand everything that I hear from somebody from Upper Maine? Absolutely not. Do I understand everything that happens that everybody says that is from the South? Absolutely not. Do people in the South or Upper Maine or New York understand everything that I say, or do they say that I speak too fast? Sometimes they do. So even regionally inside of America, we're going to have differences. In English, do the British believe that everything that I say is correct? Absolutely not. So let's just put aside these concepts of absolutely correct language. It just doesn't exist. It doesn't.
mm.
You're going to have absolutely correct language. Other people don't have absolutely. You talk to somebody from Osaka. They do not sound anything like anybody from the Kansai area. It's one of those crazy things. So
Yeah, thank you so much, Benjamin-san. So the last, actually, just a one maybe phrase that I would like to ask is, if anyone is actually discouraging learning Japanese, maybe by the age, maybe because they never been to Japan, but they have a big dream, but also they feel like too difficult to learn. If somebody is discouraged to learn Japanese, what you can say today?
I would ask them to question why. Why? Why are you discouraged? And why do you want to learn? And those are the two things that I would ask anybody, and that's what I would say to anybody. I'm like, why do you want to learn Japanese? Okay, because you want to come to Japan and go to an anime festival and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool, but you don't need Japanese for that. I want to talk to people and understand where they're coming from. Well, you'll
Mm,
definitely need Japanese for that. So I would say, why do you want to do it and what's holding you back? Why are you not
mm,
doing it? And if it's, you're not doing it because you're not comfortable, it's got to be, it's, you have to at some point in time be okay with being uncomfortable. And until I understood that, and I wish I would have understood that on day one, you know, as long as you understand that you're going to be uncomfortable and that you should be okay with that, it's okay. And it's funny because my wife has tried to teach me Japanese and tried to do Japanese with me. And my wife is terrible, 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 terrible teacher. She's hypercritical about pronunciation, right? Hypercritical. And I was telling Yui-san this the other day. I said, because she asked me, how do you feel? And I said, there's a, and or do you want to change teachers? That's what she asked. Do you want to change instructors? I said, absolutely not. I would not change instructors now. The reason being is it took us so many weeks for me to be comfortable with you. And it's not that you were ever mean or cruel or said bad things or weren't supportive. It was me not allowing myself to be open enough
Mm.
to take the lessons in. And it's okay for me to make mistakes. And when she says, "Oh, it's so close, you're almost there," she wasn't saying it sarcastically. She was saying it truthfully, honestly, and with an open heart. She was like saying, you almost got it, and let me tell you what you did wrong, and then let's fix that, and then it'll be fine." And that level of comfort and that level of is really, really hard to get to with somebody when you're learning something, especially if
Mm.
you're saying something wrong for a very, very long time. That's again one of the reasons why you need to talk to people that do this for a living and that really are invested in you. The language factory instructors, at least the one that I have, is really invested in regards to my learning. And so I would say to anybody learning Japanese, anybody that wants to go down this thing, this path, is have a goal. Why do you want to do it? That's critical. And it can't be superficial. Do not have a stupid superficial goal. Like, oh, I want to buy, JDMs in Japan, and if I learn Japanese, I'll really be able to get the best deals possible. That's super. Say I want to buy JDMs in Japan. I really want to understand the culture, and I know I really want to express my love of these cars so that the person that's selling them knows that they're not selling it to some guy that's just gonna is a weird tweaker and he's gonna wreck it.
Mm.
There's your goal is the same, is get as many JDMs as possible. Difference is that the method in which you go at it, and you have to. Why do you want to do it? Oh, I want to just buy a bunch of cars. That's not good enough. You can buy a bunch of cars speaking English. You can get a broker. You can do this. You can do that. You do not need to know Japanese. So what I would say is that whatever you're doing, and whatever reason why you want to learn Japanese, understand that there's a million reasons that you don't need Japanese. I
Mm.
mean, you don't need any foreign language. There's
Mm.
translators. There's this. There's that.
Mm.
You don't need to speak Chinese. You don't need to speak Romanian. You don't need to speak
Yeah.
Russian. There's absolutely no reason for it. If you want to know people, you want to get to know people, you want to build relationships, you want to
Mm.
be able to enjoy what you're doing wherever you're at. In Japan, I want to go to Hokkaido and I want to go deep into Hokkaido. And I'm sure my translator is not going to work there. You
Yeah.
know, I want to go fishing for a certain fish. And the only way I'm going to be able to do that is if I can find a guide and the guy believes that I really want to do this and that it's really a passion of mine and I can express that. And then I'm going to be able to go for these cherry trout that are amazing. But again, you have to realize what you want and realize that if it's not something that's meaningful, there's no reason. There's absolutely. I mean, if you're coming to Japan and you're working for Google and you need to learn Japanese for your job, um, you're going to have a hard time learning Japanese if you don't buy into the fact that this is going to make your time in Japan so much better. Because you don't
Mm.
need it. I mean, you can just use your Google Translate. I mean, you work for Google, one of those things. And there's a lot of Google people here that don't know as much Japanese, and they hang out with their American friends or their foreign friends, and they're in a big group. It's like Nishi Kasai, right? Nishi Kasai is full of Indians, and they all work for high tech companies, and they all go back to Nishi Kasai and they all speak Hindi.
Exactly.
That's
Amazing. Thank you so much. It was really actually a meaningful conversation. Thank you so much. And then it's you actually really help a lot of people by this video. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate making this time. And then
yeah,
you are level 2, and so enjoy the progress because level 1 is what you said exactly true. It's difficult to really understand what is the bilingual training, what is actually the actual speaking training, the mental block on a lot of things as many people actually going through during the level 1. Now it's a level 2, it's just only straight actually more progress and without so much mental block. I think you can enjoy yourself more for sure.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm really
Yeah.
excited about level two. Um, I'm excited about the progress that I made. And you know what? When you're doing these courses, and you got 30 lessons, right? Those first 20 lessons are just building blocks. They're just building blocks, just building blocks, and you're building blocks, and you're building blocks, and you're getting stuff wrong, and you're not doing things, and you're like, this is kind of, I get it, but you hit that 20th lesson. Maybe it's sooner for some people, maybe it's a little bit later for some people, but somewhere in there, you're gonna be like, ta-da! This sentence, and this sentence is a conversation. This sentence and this, and it's gonna click. It's gonna click, and you're gonna be like, oh, and then you'll have your first dream that is half Japanese, half English, or something like that. And it's not gonna be a lesson dream, like how do you say this 100. It's not gonna be that. Somebody's gonna say something to you in Japanese in your dream, and then you're gonna be like, oh, that's awesome, right? So,
Exactly. All right. Thank you so much.
Are you expat living in Japan? You started living in Japan, you're super excited to communicate with locals. You can enjoy traveling, meeting people. And now you start using this textbook and you feel like, wow, that's so many. Elementary school textbook, another elementary school textbook, and how many hours should you study? Let's think one more time. In order to communicate like a normal guy, you can do everything in the basic everyday life. Should you finish all those textbooks? Otherwise, you won't understand what they're talking. You cannot express yourself, anything. First of all, there are always two ways to learn languages. One is documentational language. The other one is conversational language. It's like, once upon a time, grandmother and grandfather are living somewhere. Or, hey, what's up? How's it going? Which is conversational. What is the most effective way to learn how to speak Japanese? Textbooks can't talk to you, so you cannot improve your listening skill and pronunciation, how to communicate. So why Japanese children can speak Japanese so quickly? Because they are learning conversational Japanese. The good news is, in Japan Language Factory, we have a specific learning structure to improve your conversational Japanese. So you can join the conversation, you can understand what they're talking, you can respond quickly, and express what you are thinking. If you want to be able to speak Japanese as soon as possible, join our free consultation to figure out what is the fastest way to start speaking Japanese.